going to call this meeting to order. Welcome back. Happy New Year, everybody. Nice to see everybody here. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? None? Okay. I have some staff introductions today. Susan, would you like to introduce your staff members?
I'm very pleased to say I have 3 new staff to introduce. Yes. Yay. And I'm going to introduce them based on the date they started with us. So I'd like to introduce Eric Simpson, who's our new policy planner. Eric's backfilling Jenny Choi's position while she's on that leave. And he comes to us from the Township of Brock and has a degree from Ryerson University. And I have to say we're very, very pleased to have Eric with us. And he is an Ajax resident. So, he has a nice sharp commute. And then I'd like to introduce Brad Wiley. He joined us in December as well. And he's our new transportation technologist. And Brad comes to us from the city of Waterloo. And he was a traffic technician there and worked on many of the same issues that he'll be working on here. And he has a diploma in transportation technology from Mohawk College. And we'd like to welcome Brad. Very happy to have him. And our most recent addition is John Reed, who is our new supervisor of transportation. And we're very pleased that John is joining us. He comes to us from WSP and was actually working on our transportation master plan while he was there. So has a good knowledge of Ajax from that exercise. He's worked on many transportation plans and active transportation master plans for varying municipalities across Ontario. And we're very pleased to be having that knowledge and his background in this position, and very happy to have John with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome to the town. I know council looks forward to working with you in the future. And Rob, you also have some introduction.
I'll follow Susan's lead and go in order. So next is Will Campbell. You may have already met him, our benefits and compensation specialist. So Will's probably wondering why he joined us, as of course, a change of benefit company. Will also has a good background. He joined us from Metro, but prior to that, the Art Gallery of Ontario. So he's spent his entire career in benefits, and he also has a background in payroll as well, too, which is always a good match. So I welcome Will. And our newest addition is Salika Singh. Salika's joined us as an HR associate. She joined us from, where did you come from, Salika? From the city of Toronto. So she has a Bachelor of Commerce in HR strategy, and she also has a business and mid-management diploma from Seneca. So she's stepping in and doing as HR assistant a lot of the recruitment, particularly in the part-time area for rec and operations. So that's our newest additions, and almost like Susan, we're now up to full speed up in HR. It's been a while, so welcome them both.
Thank you again. Welcome. All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes from November 13th, the closed session on the 13th, December 11th, and the closed session on the 11th, and okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. So, I have 4.1, 4.5, and 4.10 pulled from today's agenda. Is anybody else want to pull anything? No? So I need a motion to approve the remainder. In favor? It's carried. Thank you. So, Councillor Collier, you pulled 4.1, which is the website redesign.
Sorry, I pulled all of them.
20.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Through you to Rachel and Matt. I've already given you my questions. The first was, we have our public polling that we do, and I'd just like to know, first of all, what was said about the website during that. Do people feel it's not current? Do people like it, not like it? Have trouble finding things? Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So through the chair, it's best practice that a website be redesigned every 3 to 5 years. So our current website was redesigned in 2012 and launched at the beginning of 2012. So we're about 6 years in now, and we know that there's upgrades that are needed to keep in line with trends in terms of websites. So through our annual customer polling, through feedback, we know that the website is in need of an upgrade and a rehaul just to bring it up to sort of 2018 standards. And this is not only from the public, but also through departments and staff. So when we first initially did the website in 2012, it was very much designed by department, and there's lots of information there. And so we found over time that it's not as intuitive for the end user to find the information that they're looking for. We also know that things have changed in terms of how people access information. So we're no longer just going on to desktop computers and then coming onto a website. Most users are accessing our website either through a mobile device like a tablet or a smartphone. And our current site isn't designed to be responsive, which means you're getting the same desktop look and feel on each tablet. And if you've ever gone to our site through your phone or through a tablet, you'll see that it doesn't actually respond to the screen size. So it's very important that we are upgrading the website to ensure that people who are accessing it through various devices are able to have a good user experience every time they're coming to the site.
Well, I appreciate that, but I understand the whole, it's good practice, but that doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it just doesn't need to be done. It's like, police say it's good practice to upgrade their police cars every 5 years, yet for some reason they last another 10 years as taxis and stuff after. So,
yeah.
So I guess I want to, and I don't know if you partly answered my question, in the public polling, did they say they like the website or don't like the website? You're saying they're not getting, maybe not as intuitive enough.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly myself, I don't like the mobile websites. I'd rather have the full site because it's missing half the information when you get the mobile website.
And we completely agree with that. So websites are not being developed now so that there's a mobile site and so there's a desktop site. They're now being developed so that they're fully responsive. So
Okay.
It's one site that just adjusts to your screen size and to your device. And we know through feedback that we gather through the website, that we gather from residents, that we do, just as part of our best practices annually as part of the website, that there are some definite improvements that need to be made to it. And sites are moving away from being these large repositories of information. They're no longer an archive. It's good information that people are looking for in terms of services and programs. So we're moving away from this large sort of filing cabinet to more of a responsive, intuitive, compact, and minimalist website.
Okay, what about payments systems, like paying parking tickets, paying recreation programs, all these different things? Is that all going to be included?
So those are applications that are available with the new site of where we're going, but it just depends on where we are internally in terms of bringing those processes online. But we will have those capabilities.
Well,
with
the
new
other
site.
thing is our on-street parking pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be very helpful to be able to do that as they do in Toronto remotely. Just put in your stuff, don't have to deal with the staff, put in your stuff. In that case, put in your credit card number, print out your thing, put it on your dash, and you're done.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I should also mention is the introduction of our public engagement platform. So not only are we redesigning our website, but we're also introducing a new public engagement platform, which is the trend across municipalities across Ontario and Canada. And this will be more of an opportunity to engage with residents on a variety of topics, everything from our budgets to road construction projects to major capital projects to soliciting feedback about a transportation master plan. So we will have more opportunity to engage with residents, get instant feedback, and keep them updated as projects progress.
Okay. And just the operating cost, I mean, I guess it seems like a lot for a website, but I guess that's what they cost, 140, whatever it is. But the 14,000 annual operating and maintenance, we have 2 on-site people. Why are we paying an outside company for maintenance? And don't we post our own stuff and our own updates, or do we have to go through a third party for that?
So I'll just speak to that, and Matthew may have something else to add to that through the chair. And just to clarify, we have 1 full-time staff member for our website, and that's Matthew in his capacity as digital media specialist. But then we also have content management representatives in each of the departments. So you are correct. We do have the ability to go in and make updates. Staff have the ability to go in and make updates to text or to pages, and then Matthew has the expertise in terms of that overall look and design. So when when we're building out a website, we're paying for a platform, so a content management platform. And there's a lot of work and costs that are associated with that in terms of the maintenance and the upgrades and the things that happen on the back end. And then the hosting fee as well is something that we have to account for because our servers internally don't host our website. We need to use an external server for that. And there's many reasons for that, security being one of them. But that's why you're seeing that annual maintenance and hosting costs there. And that also includes annual updates and upgrades that come along with that fee.
No extra charges after this. This is it.
After with the initial build, then it's just maintenance and hosting.
Okay. No, I mean we're not limited. Like they say, oh, you've had 2 in the update this month. We're going to charge you.
No.
So it's an all-inclusive.
It's an all-inclusive package, and then Matthew is responsible for the overall content management and the management coordination on that site.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Crawford?
The app, AppJax, is there a way to link to the website from there? Maybe you can, I don't really know, I haven't really looked at it.
Yes,
closely.
absolutely, and that's a great question. So AppJax right now, it does link back to certain pages, and then we know this is high-touch areas on the website, but right now the site isn't responsive. So when people are going to the site, they're seeing just sort of that screenshot of what our website looks like. So now with the new website, everything will be fully responsive and really integrated.
So you can search through the website on your app?
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent.
Councillor Jordan?
Thank you. Do you foresee any need of more resources if we use the public engagement piece?
I know at this point. The public engagement piece is really going to replace a lot of the way that we're doing business on the website. So for example, if there is a large capital project, let's just say Papillon Square, for example, it would have its own page where all the updates and all the information would go up and down on that page and would be sort of that central information hub. So that would be replacing information that may be found in a variety of different locations within hx.ca. So we see this as actually being more streamlined for us in terms of how we manage the website and the public engagement platform.
Councillor Brown?
Thank you. When I go onto websites, people say, just go onto our website. You cannot find just going onto the website. You have to know what to go under. And I don't think that we do that enough. Tell people, go onto our website under recreation, so-and-so, under whatever. But we're not alone in that. I've just gone through some life trying to register. And, I mean, it's just unbelievable. The amount of time that's wasted by going around a website to find the actual place where you have to be is humongous. So if you can start by when you advertise on the website under how you can get to it.
Absolutely, and as part of this whole process, we will be working with stakeholders as well to have them going through the website to say, is it easy for you to find this information, so that we're getting that feedback from the end user before we go live.
Anything further? Thank you very much. Have a motion to approve? In favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So the next item pulled is Councillor Jordan on Durham Regional Transit.
What page? I'm sorry.
That's on page 160.
116. This is about, excuse me, the Rural Stops program. Seems to me we have never done this before. I'm correct on that?
Correct.
Why did we choose to go this route? Because I agree with what we're doing, but I always thought that transit and transit stops were a regional responsibility. And is this going to then set a precedent that we're just doing more and more for transit?
Through the chair, I would have to rely on transportation to advise on if we've ever committed. In my knowledge, we have never committed to funding for stops throughout the town of Ajax. Going forward, the town is in agreement with the stops for the Rural Stops program up on Taunton Road, and in 2016 2017, sorry, the town did review all the technical specifications for the stop that was installed at Alexander's Crossing, both east and west. They might want to know. Go ahead.
Well, just to add to it, these are dealing with rural stops as opposed to urban stops.
Urban stops.
So we're on the north side of Taunton Road where we're looking to increase, and the region's looking to increase the service that they provide. Based on, and we can argue whether, in my mind, it could be a greater regional responsibility, but the way that it would sit when the region proposed to us is they will put the stops in. But the stops in a rural cross-section, as you've experienced, you need to get to those rural stops. So there's the connections from whether it's an existing trail or a sidewalk that we commented to the region of Durham that we need to make sure that people can safely, from an accessibility standpoint, when you're dealing with weather conditions and in a rural situation, you're dealing with muddy conditions and slippery conditions and unsafe conditions if you don't have the proper infrastructure. So we approached it with the region is we feel that not only the pads and the stops are important, but the connections are equally as important because you need to get people to those stops. So that's where the region had indicated they're not paying for or contributing for the connections, they're just providing the stops. So we felt it important from a town standpoint to make sure that those connections were provided. So that's essentially what this represents, are those connections to the stops that the region will be providing.
Maybe.
I thought we were providing more. I didn't think it was just the connections, but maybe I misunderstood. But I need some more information because this is a new thing we're doing.
So I think this is going across the region in terms of how the region is approaching their regional stops. When you look at the cost estimates in terms of how they're broken down on an area basis, so it's on a square footage and square meter basis, which why each location has a different percentage split in terms of town share versus region share. So where it's just primarily a stop, there's a larger regional share. Where there's a longer connection required to an existing sidewalk or trail, there is a larger town contribution.
And is this something that will happen all across the region with other municipalities?
Through the chair, yes. They are approaching Whitby, they are approaching Pickering as well, in locations in rural areas. They've approached the town for Taunton at this point.
And how many more do we foresee in the future? Will there be others on it? I'm thinking like Lake Ridge or...
The proposal from the region right now is for the town to look at Shoal Point. Shoal Point as a rural stop area in the future.
And this wasn't budgeted.
Correct.
So John will be...
We're only paying for the connection. Yes, we're not paying
Tom to
for,
clarify what
we're not paying for the actual bus stop or the bus shelter or any of that. To Mr. Mayor, at this point, the connection to get people to the bus shelter, however, the town is looking to partner with the region on that to ensure the safety of residents to get to the bus shelter. So that concrete strip to get people to the bus shelter would be the town's responsibility, and that is what the report is identifying in those rural locations.
Anything further? Councilor Collier?
Maybe I can offer some explanation. This is, I've spoken many times on this through regional updates at council. This is an area that, well, the region won't usually put in infrastructure until the road has reached its full capacity. In Taunton Road case, that's 6 lanes, and that's not even in the long-range capital forecast. I've been pushing this at DRT for years that we can't just wait until year 2030. It's irresponsible. This is a high-risk area. It's traffic going by at high speed. They need to address it. So this is the region and Durham Regional Transit agreeing to spend a lot more money than they would usually spend on stops. But I understand the connection piece. Here, this is kind of throwaway infrastructure. I mean, we're going to put it in. They have the big drop off at the back of Taunton Road, so they can't just put a stop there. They need to build that up, need to do the culverts, need to do a lot of other things. So that being said, it's something we pushed for. I pushed for a long time. We pushed for a long time. It was in the budget for 2017, and here's my question, because I contacted Vince Patterson about this at the end of last year. Why aren't they in now? Because this was in the 2017 budget, and nothing's happened up there. He said it's still in the planning process. So can you speak to where this is in the planning process and when we can expect to see these installed? Because I haven't got that answer yet.
Through the chair, the town has been provided drawings through their consultant and through the region to provide comment on. Because this is regional led, we're not in control of the timeline of this project. However, we are commenting on the technical specifications. I don't know where it's at in the budget.
When does our comments have to be back?
We've provided all our comments.
Okay. So at the next tech meeting, which I think next week, I'll be asking that same question to transit staff and seeing where, because this is, I don't think it takes a year for this to go through planning. But I get through
completed one
engineering.
at Alexander's Crossing. That was completed in 2017.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Crowe?
So these are currently not stops on Taunton Road?
They are stopped.
There are stops. So are we putting shelters on?
The project proposes shelters.
That's what I
Yes.
thought I read in here. I just want to
Yes.
make sure that, because I know that our community meetings, that's been kind of a bone of contention, is that you have to stand out there with no shelter at all in all kinds of weather, which would certainly not encourage people to use those sites. So that's good. I can't believe that when Durham Transit is putting in stops that they don't consider safety themselves. Is that not something that you would consider when putting a stop in? I mean, not you, huh?
Common sense, isn't it?
It's probably a transit question.
It would be a transit question. However, there are
Not you,
Durham Regional
obviously.
Transit technical guidelines, near stop, far stop, mid-cross stop. So there is a whole pamphlet that I won't bore you with that lays out how they go through and how they identify these
And yet you
locations.
still have to identify the safety for them?
Well, no, the stop guidelines actually does identify where the most appropriate location is. You'll also have to look at the topography of the location to be able to understand that and how they design for it, so.
But these are all at lights, are they not? Or in the general vicinity of a light?
They are at a crossing where the south connection already has the built infrastructure.
Right. Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillor Brown?
Yes, thank you. I agree wholeheartedly with the installation of bus stops along Taunton. I've seen people standing up there in all kinds of weather.
Yes.
It's a very necessary thing. But, and it is a rural, but Shell Point is not rural. And when the development it goes ahead, just north of, what's the name of that bush there?
Orbis.
Yeah, Warburg Swamp. And when that goes in, I mean, it's urban. So, I don't know, I've not observed people waiting there, but I'm not being there as often as I've been on top, contrary to it. My northern councillors, they think I never go up there.
You're up there on Saturday.
But I'll be interested when the Shell Point comes forward.
When and if.
When and if, exactly. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say that I think this is a good arrangement between the region and the town. As Councilor Collier said, their standard for rural stops is very barbaric. I mean, there's no cement platform, there's no shelter. Most of us, I assume, have driven along Taunton on many occasions and seen people out there waiting, sometimes not on a beautiful August day, but sometimes on a very inclement day. And it's not something that encourages transit use. And of course, the Taunton route is well used, and it services UIT and Durham College, and there's a lot of young people who rely on that transit to get to and from school. So, and if the region went ahead and did something without our coordinating with it, we'd be fielding complaints for the next few years saying, why haven't you got the crosswalks properly? Why haven't you done this? Why haven't the connection state and things like that? So this cooperation with the region to facilitate these rural stops, I think, is the right thing to do. I know Councillor Collier has fielded many complaints on this, and in his capacity as our representative on Durham Regional Transit, and I'm just glad to see this coming forward and finally getting done. Proper shelters, proper facilities for the users there. Fortunately, Ajax has very few rural areas that have transit service. I mean, when Taunton is done, that substantially takes care of our rural profile road that is serviced by transit. So I see this as a good matching of the resources of the region and the town to you know, and all those people sitting out there are the one taxpayer paying the bills to both of us, and they don't want, you know, silly disputes over this stuff. They want it problem solved, and I think this solves it, and I just hope it gets done before they have to stand out much more of that.
Thanks for letting me back in, Chair. I just want to speak quickly to the Shoal Point thing. I think as everybody knows, we try and keep a bus stop within 400 meters of most homes, 800 tops. Well, if you live on Salt or Marjoram, one of those, you're about 1.1 kilometers from the nearest stop, which was up on Bailey. So we were able to get the route modified last year to go down Shoal Point Road again. Because it used to go down Shoal Point, then we switched over to Audley once Audley became built. And then all the people along there, because there's what, a 2-kilometer stretch of nothing.
I got the emails.
Yeah, so there you go. So we were able to access them, but the bus was not able to stop there heading north because we couldn't put a stop there because the road doesn't have a curb, it doesn't have anywhere to put a stop. And so I'm getting calls saying it's our staff holding it up because we won't approve it. And anyway, I think that's been sorted now.
Okay.
But we had to put some sort of made in Ajax solution there to be able to put a stop on the east side of Shoal Point Road just to service that. We had the route, but then we're allowed to stop and open the door. So it is a work together kind of thing, but just for Shoal Point, I think that's why they figure it's urban. It's not urban because it doesn't have curbs, it doesn't have whatever.
All right, thank you.
There you go.
Anything further? Motion to approve? Any in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Thank you very much. The other item pulled is 4.10 on page 140. Councillor Collier.
Thank you.
That one?
No questions, Chair. Just wanted to speak to it. And I think some of the colleagues might want to speak to it too, just the ridiculousness of it. We had a lengthy debate at Regional Council last week or 2 weeks ago, and brought forward several amendments, all of which were ignored. The Municipal Act now is changed, Bill, whatever it is, changes it to allow us to have an alternate. However, the region, they can't stop us having an alternate, but what they've done is basically tied the hands that the alternate can't really do anything. All the business gets done in the region at the committee levels, everything. You know, whether it's transit or committee of the whole or any of the other things. However, the Municipal Act, because of the way it's worded, and it wasn't very well thought through on this one, basically says meeting of council, and they've directly interpreted that to be only the council meeting where we all know no discussion takes place. It says ratifying decisions have already been made. So basically, all this allows us to do is have somebody show up and raise their hand on something that's, so you're not part of the debate, you're not part of the presentations, you're not part of the, you know, the information part of the whole thing. You're just there to vote on the final day if one of us can't show up. So to me, it's a Band-Aid fix. I think it's kind of ridiculous. I don't believe that it's what the minister had in mind when they wrote the bill, but it's done now, and due to the I think short-sighted interpretation of some people at the region, I think they've done a disservice with this. But anyway, there you go. I think we're going to approve it.
Just through you, Chair, to the clerk, is there any further recourse on the issue that Councillor Collier raised in terms of its applicability to committee of the whole. I spoke to several people at the region, one of them the solicitor, who was of the opinion that, you know, our interpretation could well be right, and that, you know, there was further investigations and further process that could ultimately take place. Is there any, like, the region chose to make that interpretation, but is there any other recourse that we have on that?
Through the chair to Mayor Parrish. So I imagine you're quite correct. That section in the Act is quite ambiguous, and I suppose it could be tested through the courts at some point. You might want to consider whether that's sort of a hill that Ajax wants to die on. This is a procedure that we likely wouldn't rely upon very often. So I suspect the better avenue would be to just, what Mr. Harris and I can do is monitor some of the other regions throughout the next 8 or 9 months and see how they're utilizing these provisions. I suspect many of them may allow them to be employed for their standing committees or committee of the whole. And then come, you know, next winter, next December, perhaps there will be a different group of people sitting around the regional table who may want to revisit this, and that's probably the kind of the more quicker and practical avenue to seeing this revisited within a 1-year time frame.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think that we want to go to the time and effort and expense of a court challenge, but I think that maybe the last word hasn't been spoken on this, and I think we should monitor it, and I think we should see what happens in other places, and I think we should continue to keep our contact with the ministry and see whether they're dealing with this as things progress, because I don't think they really turned their minds to this at all until we kind of raised it.
Anything further? Motion to approve? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Just before we leave consent, Madam Chair, I didn't pull this item because I really didn't have any questions on it, but I just wanted to pass on what I received, and I think other members of council have received, with respect to the replacement of the washed out sections of the waterfront trail, that a lot of people I spoke to were, maybe it's a reflection on people's general perception of government, but the fact that they were very impressed that it was addressed and dealt with and reinstituted as quickly and efficiently as it was. And I think that's also a reflection of the fact that the waterfront trail is extremely popular, and its interruption is an inconvenience to a lot of people. And so I had a lot of feedback about a lot of people being very appreciative and impressed at how quickly it was dealt with.
Ditto on that. Did a really good job. A lot of positive feedback from the public. I was impressed with how quickly it was done. And under budget. No, it was great.
Oh, you should
Andrew,
sit
Andrew's
here.
right here.
Thank you.
All right, Andrew, I think you're on, aren't you? Presentation regarding Frisco Road.
Through the chair, the City of Pickering is in the process of making considerable improvements to the waterfront. A component of those improvements includes a section of Frisco Road, which is, hopefully you can see this okay, but first, this is the waterfront trail. This is in Pickering. This is Duffin's Marsh waterfront. This is the Ajax waterfront trail here. Doesn't show up particularly well, but this is Frisco Road, which leads up to Montgomery Park Road. The boundary between Pickering and Ajax is along the western edge of Frisco Road, along here. So the staff in the City of Pickering have been working on the improvements of the waterfront, and one of the areas that they would like to improve is the area at Frisco Road. Their plan is to replace a section of the Frisco Road about from here south to the waterfront with a multi-use trail. It would be a 3-meter wide asphalt trail. There would also be a section of the road that would remain at the top, about 150 meters or so, which would terminate at a roundabout and would have approximately 12 parking spaces inclusive of handicap parking. Asphalt paved road, improvements to the road itself, to a turnaround. And at that point, the road would become a 3-meter wide multi-use recreational trail down to the existing waterfront. This asphalt trail would be accessible for emergency purposes, and there would also be a turnaround at the southern limit for emergency access as well. So you'd be able to drive down that trail and turn around and get back out again. This is a schematic. So basically you'd have the existing road terminate at the top. The red dotted line represents where the trail would go, and then there's also a broader dotted line through the western edge of the Duffins Marsh, which would be a Town of Ajax initiative in the future for a nature trail. You can see that there is an existing nature trail, let's call it a nature trail. There's a recreational trail along the western edge, so it's a desire line that runs through that natural area. It connects the cemetery to the trail, and it also connects some of these more natural areas up further to the north. So we would add some formality to that existing trail by putting some wood chips down or whatever. That way we have a little bit more control as to where the pedestrians will walk. And I call it a nature trail because it's really more for like bird watching and that kind of thing. It's not like a formalized 3-meter wide asphalt trail. So Frisco Road is within the Town of Ajax, and Pickering approached us because they requested this stop up and close so that they could continue with their work. And we looked at it with them as well as the TRCA, and we looked at the benefits of doing this, and so I've listed them here. Frisco Road itself is underused, doesn't really provide any significant vehicular traffic, and there's not a huge benefit to the Town of Ajax or the City of Pickering. We have TRCA on board. They're fine with the initiative. It makes sense to them in terms of environmental and other aspects. It still provides them access to the marsh. It also provides a safer environment for pedestrians. There's less conflict between any cars or vehicles or trucks that are moving down that road with pedestrian use. The proposed parking spaces at the north end, there's approximately 12 of them, which would include accessible parking spaces and AODA compliant. That gives us something that we don't really have there now, and that is safe parking, safe accessible parking, and a hard surface link to the waterfront trail. It's about a 3 or 4 minute walk from the trailhead, the proposed trailhead, down to the existing trail. So it's not too far off the existing waterfront trail. There aren't any property owners down there to be affected, and we try to maintain some decent views to the marsh and to the trail, to the lake and to the existing trail. And the costs are going to be borne by the City of Pickering. So they will construct and they will continue to maintain that area. In terms of a go forward, we would go through the proper procedures with LIS to stop up and close. Excuse me 1 second. We would also take this idea, this concept, to a couple of our advisory committees, for example, EAC and TAC, and get some feedback from them in terms of the final detailed design. And that's the end of my presentation.
Parrish.
I totally support this. Frisco used to have a couple of people living on it, but it doesn't anymore. And certainly that's everything that's outlined I see as an improvement to the trail there. But there's one gap here that, and I don't know, this is Pickering's project, and I don't know if we're in a position to impose this as a condition or suggest it, but when you're accessing the waterfront from there, you get down to that, it's in the top left corner, you get down to that elbow in the road, which I take it is, I don't know what that other road is called, maybe it's Montgomery Park as well, but when you get to that elbow, the asphalt ends, and that east-west section before you get to Frisco is a gravel road that's irregularly maintained simply because it's not used a lot. And then, of course, that gravel road continues to be the case all the way down Frisco to the waterfront trail. So if Pickering is doing all this, it would make a lot of sense to just, and it wouldn't have to be a high-level treatment, but some kind of hard surface on that east-west section to where they're planning to have the parking facility. I think that would really make a complete package here, especially that east-west road. It runs over a small water course, and
this is Montgomery Road. Sorry, is that?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there.
Montgomery Park Road.
Yeah, and it tends, because of where it is and how it's used, it tends to be, you know, hot, cold, and, you know, beat up a fair amount of time. And I doubt if Pickering spends much time and effort on maintaining it in terms of grading, et cetera, they just wouldn't have demand for it. So some kind of, even if it was a tar and pebble or some kind of treatment that, you know, inexpensively gave it some kind of surface, I think would enhance the whole experience of getting down to the waterfront there. I mean, I don't think we can impose it as a condition, but I think a suggestion maybe be made.
We can certainly make that suggestion.
Councilor Brown?
Yes, thank you. Do any boat owners use this area to launch their boats or canoes? So, because then they wouldn't be able to go down to the water with this proposal.
Launching off of the point?
Yeah.
Off here?
Yeah, do they do that?
I suppose they could. This plan wouldn't stop that from happening.
Yeah, but it would stop them from driving down to...
Right, if it was a canoe, they would carry the...
Because that's the only negative, potential negative I see.
Yeah. To respond to that, we would be providing a more formal and more accessible parking lot for them to park in.
Yeah.
So presumably there would be more than one, I don't know. They would have to make that 5-minute walk down to the waterfront. Unless they went around the other side and you could go over.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Is there anything further? I have a couple questions. So basically the trail on the Pickering side, it looks like, are they putting those trails in for park users? Are they making this a destination point?
They will be putting in the trail for Frisco Road, yes.
So this is like a new park, then, really, a destination?
I
didn't really know there was a park there.
I think they are trying to establish more of a kind of a loop system to provide the trail system to be more accessible to more people.
Right. So the path that goes up Frisco Road will be for the time being pedestrian and cycling?
Yeah, it would be multi-use.
Because it's a very wide road for that. There's plenty of room. Have we looked at the usership of that area? Because I know there is parking at the very south of the Frisco Road, and many people, I've been there before, and there are people that come and go on a regular basis. Have they looked at how much usage it gets?
There's no formal review of that I'm aware of, but our own observations is similar to your own, and that there are people that do use that to park and whatnot.
Because the only reason I ask that is we're making a significant change in the location of the parking. It's quite a walk, a hike down for anybody who's older. I don't think you can make it 100% accessible, and that's not the expectation. You can't do that in every location. We have done it in some. But I think that because it was so close to the lake, a lot of people were able to drive down and access the waterfront trail. So there might be some issues there. You might get some feedback from that. My only other, I guess, opinion is is on the proposed trail on the Ajax side, the future multi-use recreational trail. You already have a footpath, obviously.
So it's shown.
Looks like a fisherman's footpath along the side of
Yep.
the creek. And you've dotted in another trail, and I wonder why we just can't leave things natural the way they are. As soon as you start to introduce another trail, then more people use it, and they go off in spurs, and before you know it, it's not natural.
I think the intention is that we would try to use, I mean, that plan I had was conceptual.
Yeah.
Showing that in the future, we would have
Yeah.
a sort of a natural footpath. We would try to take advantage of any of those sight lines that are there now, for example, the one that goes up the edge. And we haven't done like a formal site review of that, which direction would be the best. We will do that in the future and determine what's the best route.
Well, sometimes I think things are better left the way they are. There's a reason why people enjoy using the footpath, because nobody's on it, and it leaves it as natural as possible. Less, I mean, especially, the concern is being so close to the creek. You don't want a lot of people trampling the growth there. So that's all. Thank you very much. Does there have a motion to approve? In favor, any opposed? Thank you. All right. And that's it for today's agenda. We don't have a closed session, so a motion to adjourn. In favor, any opposed? Carried. Thank you very much.
Good meeting, Joy. Very efficient.